Good afternoon everyone, thank you very much for joining me on this latest video. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the comments and likes and new subscribers that are here. One thing I'll say just before I start, if you are a new subscriber or you're an old subscriber, just check the channel every week, because it would appear that there's a lot of people getting removed as a subscriber, which I can actually watch in real time, and it's really quite alarming. But again, as I said to someone in the comments the other day there, it's YouTube doing this to me, like what they're doing with the shadow banning and it taking an age for one video to sort of load up when it was only taking half an hour before. All it's done is give me a kick up the arse, or give me the kick up the arse that I needed. So I would like to thank them for that, because what I can do now is, well, what I need to do now is I need to start recording as often as I can, which is what I'm sort of doing this week. I'm actually working on 3 videos at the moment, so this one is just a sort of a little filler, just while I'm obviously researching these other videos, because as I said before, I'm going to try and start taking my time with it a bit more, so that I can get all the points in and all the notes, because I mean it's rather difficult to sit and read notes and engage with the screen at the same time. And we sit and watch the news or whatever, I mean, fair play to them, and they make it look easy, but it's absolutely not. Being able to read and take the notes in and engage with the camera and the audience, which for me, because this isn't my profession, I'm finding it quite difficult. However, I will get there in the end, and hopefully I'll be able to cut that out, forgetting some of the notes that I've been putting in, because some of them are very, very important, and they need to be in there, so I do apologise about that. So today I want to discuss obviously this narrative again, a workshy Britain. It's doing the rounds once again, saying that people in Britain are work shy, and that's why we need immigration, and that's why it's a good thing. Now, as I've said before, there's an element of truth to that. We do need some people to come in here and do jobs that some people may or may not want to do. Overwhelmingly, a lot of people don't want to do it. But that said, the way things are, I think more people, given the opportunity, would take up work. I myself have been trying to apply for a job, and it's just 16 hours a week I need. And I've applied. My work coach said to me, like, they were like, I've never seen anybody apply for such the amount of bloody jobs that you've applied for over the sort of last couple of months. And it's probably got something to do with the fact that I've done this. I've started this channel, and some people will know about it and will have watched it and have thought, well, no, I'm not having him, which is fine. Unfortunately, there is another element to it, and it's the agenda at play. Now, when we have untold record numbers coming into this country from places that are not in war-torn environments, then there's going to be issues with employment, especially when you've got the woke brigade at everybody corner, and the fact that people are mental pussies and they're too worried about what everyone else thinks of them if they come up and say what's perceived to be an alternative view, i.e., well, I don't care if it's a woman, I'm going to pick this man because he's the best guy for the job. I don't care that he's white. I'm picking him not because I don't like the other guy because of where he's from or the colour of his skin, but I'm picking the white guy or this guy here, the British guy, because he's right for the job. But a lot of people won't do that, because they're succumbing to this woke brigade. They're worried what people think of them. And I say it once again, it's got nothing to do with anyone what your opinion is. As long as you're not inciting violence, which is it's a fine line at the moment, as you can see, people getting jailed. Well, there's a lady got jailed for 15 months for saying blow up the mosque. I would recommend that you don't put posts out like that, because it's just giving them an excuse. So there is laws out there for hate speech. So I would suggest that you adhere to them, to avoid any silly sentences and wasting your time behind bars in a prison, because it's not much fun, I can assure you that. But when you've got lots of people coming into the country, and yes, they do work for a lesser salary, there's no doubt about that. Whereas someone from Britain may question it. I mean, a lot of the salaries just now, it's kind of standard £11.44, and then you've got these bloody people in the news. And lately, Isabel Oakeshot's irritating me more than usual recently with some of the bloody things she comes out with. And that Alex Phillips, she had actually said yesterday, she says, oh, this person, she's my best friend, and she's got the biggest brain in the business. I give you Isabel Oakeshott. And I thought, well, thank you for clearing that up, Alex. That's cleared up a lot for me. It explains a lot that Isabel Oakeshott has got the biggest brain in journalism. That would go a long way to explaining why we're in this bloody mess that we're in. Because people like that are unable to tell the truth, and those are the people that I'm speaking of now. And they've got the cheek to turn it off, feel like a conspiracy theorist, and they don't even know where conspiracy theory comes from. They don't even know where it was turned. It's absolutely ridiculous. But they won't say anything, again, to adhere to the woke brigade. Now, Isabel Oakeshott, I know she brought out COVID and she's against immigration and all the rest of it, but she's still coming out with bloody tripe about how people on benefits should be sent to work. Now, I'm not against that. However, what benefit would the people be getting? Because on benefits just now, if you think it's easy for some people, then I can assure you it's not. Because I've listened to it. I've listened to what can go on. And they're saying that 9.4 million people are out of work. So is that 9.4 million people on universal credit that are doing no form of employment whatsoever? Because I'm not sure these people even understand how this bloody system's set up. The vast majority of people on universal credit, I'll say it again, are in some form of employment. Doing whether it's 16 hours or 20 hours. And maybe they're using the rest of the time, they've realised that they don't want to contribute to an unfair system, because the more they work, the more they get bloody taxed. It doesn't matter if you put in a 40-hour week. If you do 50 hours overtime, the chances of you coming out with any more are very, very slim, because you just hand it to them. So maybe people are getting their balances right a little bit more now. I understand there is people in this system that refuse to work, and there's a headline that saying that people would rather watch This Morning. Now, there's workshy people out there that don't want to go to work, but I'm struggling to believe they would rather sit and watch This Morning than go to work or go out and do something productive. In fact, if they're not going out and doing something productive, I would place money on they're not sitting watching that shite This Morning, because that's what it is. A complete and utter dollop of shite. And anybody, if you're putting off any other activity to sit and do that, then I'm sorry, that I think you need to go and see a psychiatrist, because it really is. It's absolutely terrible. But these people, this narrative again about workshy Britain. Now, of course there's going to be Brits out of work when there's an agenda at play, and there's a weak mindset at play, and there's loads and loads of people that have been moved into position. And because of the woke brigade, they're going to get the first employment. Or if you go for a job as a white guy, right, and you're then next to a foreigner, the chances are the foreigner's going to get it. Now, I don't hold any anger about that. It just seems to be a fact at the moment. Not everywhere, but it's definitely happening in places. It's the same with women. Because they've got this narrative out there that it's always men that run things and women have been marginalised, and it's just not true. It's not bloody true. It's about competency. They say, oh, there's not many women bricklayers, but I mean, how many of them want to be bricklayers? A very small portion of them, I would imagine. So all that's at play here, and yet we are then being told that we're not working enough. And that actually, because you're not working and you're drawn from this system, you should be out picking up litter or doing whatever in the community. Now, what I say to that is, just like everything else in this bloody unfair system, that is ripe for manipulation. It would be akin, and I'll tell you what would happen if we agreed to do something like that. If everyone consented to that and said, right, yes, that's a brilliant idea. Even when if I lose this job and I go on to that system, that's a brilliant idea. That would be open it'd be again ripe for manipulation. If you've ever seen the Shawshank Redemption, the prison warder, when he starts using the outside labour and he undercuts everybody because he doesn't have to pay anyone, that would be the type of thing that would happen, because they would exploit that. As soon as we agree, because it's never, on the face of it, it never tells the whole story. There's always context to it. So that's what would happen there, and we would be exploited as we always have been. Now, there is many people, again, yes, there are people caring, that have to care for family members because they've got no one else. I used to hear those people getting marginalised, because there is people that take advantage of that. There is people out there that have got health conditions or they say they've got the health conditions that they haven't really got, and then their partner or whatever becomes their carer. Thus they don't need to go and look for work. That's fine. But if you are of sound mind and you are physically obviously able to move about and do things, you're selling yourself short. Not only that, you're giving this bloody system and scumbags like Isabel Oakeshott to come out and say stuff like that we need to be out picking up litter. What about this? What if people are maybe not watching This Morning or Netflix or anything like that, and they're maybe getting their minds right? How many people are out there doing that? Have you factored that into your bloody thinking? I don't think you have. And that's the thing as well. There's another thing, Agenda 21, which I've mentioned many times on this channel, and it's going to be a small part of the next video as well. That's actually one of the goals of that agenda, is people will be told what their job is. Now, you could argue that's already happening, because there's work coaches out there that are more than willing to sort of scare people with sanctions so that they will then take a job that they normally wouldn't do. Now, if we had a fairer system where everyone was taken care of and we all had our food and our electricity and everything that we needed was there, then you would then contribute a few hours of your time. Like I've said this before with the Ubuntu movement, it'd be something along the lines of that, where a population of sort of 5,000 working people could put in 3 hours a week of their time to contribute to running their town or their community, which would give you 15,000 manual work hours, and that's in 1 week. So it's like it would be a completely different system altogether. If it was a little bit fairer along the lines of that, maybe we could get on. But this is the point. That is why it is not set up like that, because they do not want that type of system. They want people that are dependent on an income, a universal basic income that they control. It's them that decide what that's going to be. If we give that up, then I'm sorry, there's not going to be much of a world to live in. Now, I know it's sort of, you get angry because you think to yourself, well, I'm out working every day, why shouldn't they be? And this is again the problem. I agree, there is a lot of people that have worked their whole lives, that have paid their tax and all the rest of it, and they've kept other people. There's no doubt about that. I remember when I used to stay next to my uncle, he sat and calculated up his tax for the year, and then we calculated how many rents that would pay in the court that he stayed in at the time, or that we stayed in at the time. And it was more than half. It was unbelievable what he was paying like. So I can understand people's frustration with that, and I can understand why they would jump to the forefront to then say, well, yes, that's brilliant, get them up off their asses and get them out working. But that's the point. If you're sitting, right, and you've not got a job and you're finding it difficult to get a job, as I am at the moment, then what you need to do is you need to try and put your time into something productive. There's no point feeling down about it and saying, well, I'm not going to get a job, this is rubbish. You need to try and take your mind from that. And I know that's more difficult if the lights are struggling to be kept on, if you're struggling to put food on the table. I do understand, and there's a lot of people that are in positions right now thinking about doing something productive with their time, and it won't feel like the right thing to do. And it's because of the way the world's set up. However, if you can sort of spend a little bit of time growing yourself, because it's the best investment you can make, is putting time into yourself. I've proven that, and many others have as well. It's the best investment you can make, so invest the time in yourself, because time is money after all. So it's no different in investing money in yourself when you're investing your time in yourself, because money will come at the end of that. There's no doubt about that. Become articulate, learn how to convey your feelings, and you'll get any job. I mean, this is how I know something's not right just now. I'm getting knocked back for jobs that I would have got even before an interview at this time last year. So, but that's the point. That's where you can grow yourself to that level. And the only way you're going to do it is if by reading, and I mean, start off with what I've said it before, documenting his confidence, then move on to reading. You can even use the audibles, but try and put your time into something productive, and show that you are willing to do a job, something that you select that's going to be good for your mental health, that's worth it. Now, this is another thing these people aren't taking into bloody consideration when they're telling people in workshy Britain to get back to work. I've said this before as well. when you're into a new job, yes, the first couple of months is good because you're learning the new job, the day goes in quick, brilliant, it's all good. 6 months passes, you've learned the job, you know what's happening, you start to get a wee bit bored. Then it becomes monotonous. Then the depression and the mental health issues set in. And yes, anxiety does get played on, there's no doubt about it, but that doesn't change the fact that when you look at something, if you're being unfairly paid in an unfair system and there's not much else going about, then your mental health's going to suffer through that. And I don't think these people even take that into consideration. And yes, we do have to do things that we do not want to do. Everyone has to at some point. But do you not deserve to be sort of to be in some kind of happiness? Do you not deserve to do what you want to do? And I know this is the thing. This is why people, it gives them the opportunity to say these bloody things to get people back to work, because so many people are sitting just watching Netflix or This Morning or whatever it is, and they've not got a thought in their head about who they are, why they're here, where they came from, where they're going, what runs the world, why is this happening, all that stuff. You need to sort of start asking those big questions, because until you do, you're going to be stuck in limbo and you're going to be labelled as someone that's not contributing to the country. But again, having said that, because of these immigrants that are coming in here, it's difficult to get these jobs. And I just found something out earlier on as well. I couldn't believe it. That when someone comes from another country to study here, that they could actually bring 6 of their bloody family members with them, and that blew my mind, and it actually made me think of something. That it was I can't remember if she was Romanian or she was from somewhere in Eastern Europe, I think, and she was obviously having to translate for her father, and he couldn't obviously speak English. We had big queues at the time, so it was like an hour wait. It's in some points 45 minutes an hour. Now, he'd obviously gotten his daughter to phone up the number and sit and wait on hold, on loudspeaker, until someone answered. Now, this whole time that this girl's doing this for him, he's lying sleeping on the couch. And the reason that I know that is but when she actually got through to me, I heard them snoring, and she had to wake him up. Dad, this is you through to give informed consent. So, and what I took from that was that someone that's been moved from a couch in Slovenia or wherever it was to a couch in bloody Britain. For what? What is this man contributing? Why is this man here? He's moved from one end of the bloody the continent to the other to do exactly the same thing as sleep in a chair. He couldn't even wake himself up to sit and wait for the bloody phone call to come through for somebody to answer the phone. It was like sleeping right the way up to till as long as he could. He gave the informed consent, and then he went back to sleep and she dealt with it for him. That is happening constantly. I've even had people say to me, I had a girl phone me up one day, she was from Lithuania, and she says, I'm really displeased with the benefits I'm getting here. And I looked at her statement and she was getting about 2,300 a month. That was including her rent, obviously. She was on LCWRA, all the rest of it. And she was very, very arrogant and self-entitled. And it really did. It angered me. Like, obviously you've got to keep your cool, but my blood was bubbling inside. It really was, because I knew she was just an arrogant sod. And she proceeded to tell me how displeased she was at the benefits that this country was giving her. And I'd said to her, I says, well, you're actually getting a lot more than the people that I know. And she says, well, that's not the point. That's not why I'm calling. I think it's absolutely despicable. And I want you to do more for me and And I said to her, like, I says, well, okay. What sort of sickness benefit structure do you have in Lithuania? Do you know what she says to me? And this is gospel. Well, nothing. That's why I'm here. So don't tell me they're coming from countries because they're in war-torn bloody situations, because the vast majority of them are not. But yet they're still coming in here. And this person was LCWRA. She had everything. She was even doing a small part-time job, which she was allowed to do, to add to it. She can make up to £400 a month before it's even taken off our benefit system. That should be there for everyone. That'll make things a little bit fairer. Give the first £400 you make. That doesn't touch the universal credit payment. However, every pound after that reduces at 55 pence. Why can't we have that for everyone? That would make it a little bit fairer. Then maybe more people would get back to work, because they would have an incentive then. It wouldn't be just the benefit. They wouldn't just be going out to work for 1 week for 400 to get it automatically removed from their benefit payment. They would have the incentive to go out there and do that. And perhaps if we had decent journalists, decent politicians and an informed population, then maybe, just maybe, we would have voted for that a very long time ago. Now, this is the thing as well. These idiots that sit on these panels with their 60 and their 70 grand a year salaries, that say that, oh, you need to get back to work. Well, that's true, but a lot of these people, they've had bad childhoods, they've gotten into trouble, they've not been supported, they've not been given the correct information, thus they're at the sort of lower end of the economy, and they need to go out and do these manual labour jobs that are very, very monotonous and very, very, I mean, they're very disheartening. And these can cause mental health problems. And sometimes it's worth it, but sometimes it's not. They're not getting 60, 70 grand a year. And yes, you could say, well, they've been to university and they've had their indoctrination, and they've remembered everything that they should have. Fine. But that doesn't change the fact that the people on the lower end of the economy, we need them just as much. In fact, we need them more than the likes of Elizabeth Oakeshott, because they're the people that clean the toilets. They're the people that go out onto building sites and piss in wet days like this. They're the people that clean our toilets. Would you do that? No, Isabel, you wouldn't, because you're too fucking worried about your bloody salary, and you're too worried about being labelled as a conspiracy theorist. And to be honest with you, you've really, that woman has absolutely, she's irritated me so much this last couple of weeks with her nonsense, honestly. And there's more of them as well. I liked Alex Phillips up until she said that Elizabeth Oakeshott had the biggest brain in journalism in the business, and that was that for me. Like, it was like, well, there's the problem then. So. And then they've got the cheek to sit in panels and tell people to get back to work out picking up litter. And again, before you know it, everyone, because they want everyone on this universal basic income. This is why Keir Starmer sits in Davos and admits that he would rather be sitting there with a group of scumbag millionaires that are probably satanic in nature than sit in his home parliament in London and listen to his constituents. And that's a fact, he admitted that. And I'm going to go into more, and because that's what the next video, it's titled Stalin, Starmer and the World Economic Forum. And the British Empire, it's going to be longer, like, but it's taken a little while to get through it, because I'm not sure how I'm putting it together. But anyway, this is the Prime Minister that we voted for, who was on the left. And the left's committed their atrocities as well, as I've said in previous videos. So now, where does that leave us? Are we going to sit here and start bagging on the people that's looking down on them because you're doing 50 hours and they're not? How do you know what they are bloody applying for or what they're not applying for? How do you know their situation? And yes, they may have anxiety, and the chances are they probably will have a health condition, because the amount of people that listened to the bloody government because they thought they were doing the right thing and ended up with serious health conditions after it, I feel so sorry for them. And that's the bloody point. This is why we need to get sort of a hold of our minds. Don't allow them to label you as a useless eater and have evidence to back it up. That's what I would say, because that's basically what they look at us as. They look at us that we're useless eaters, but we're not. We're magical inside, and it's a cheat them calling you that, a useless eater, when they deny the truth of the truth about the world and who we are and where we come from and all the rest of it. Maybe we wouldn't be so useless if the bloody school education system was set up a wee bit better. Maybe if you didn't get John D. Rockefeller to set up the Western education system, just maybe more people would be thinking clearer and they would have a better idea of what kind of job or what kind of life they wanted. The way it is, the way it's been set up now, everybody's bloody confused about who, they don't know who they are, don't know where we're going. We're completely lost. And yet they've got the cheek to sit there and bloody segregate people and say that they're work shy and all the rest of it, even after being totally mind raped during COVID, being part of a medical experiment that they had no idea was an experiment, and then the bloody propaganda that's came after it, not to mention the mind raping that they've had. With regards to the propaganda, certainly from the war in Ukraine, and then the money that's been sent there. I mean, we are throwing away literally billions and billions of pounds every year at nothing, at absolutely nothing. And yet, we've got people, journalists in this country, that say we still need to get people that are on benefits, that are probably already feeling shite about their life, out to pick up litter. For what? For nothing. And the salaries you're going to save for the council workers that no longer need to pick up the litter, what will you be doing with that? Exactly, you'll keep it like you've kept everything else. It'll just be like the tax, it's no different. Whereas if you could say, right, well, okay, what we'll do is we will we'll get people, we'll get a group of people, a certain age group or whatever it is, I don't know how they would draw it up, to go and pick litter and do firewood, or just what community service does basically. And then the money that we are saving from the salaries of the people we no longer need to pay to do that, we can then put it into this community. Well, that community there, that's that end of the community, like that, the food banks, they're maybe a bit shy, we could put some into that. Or they could have a local event, we could put it into that to make it a little bit better. Or we could have a local bloody workshop that teaches people on how to bloody get their minds right and what books to read, whatever. That is how productive we can be. But they won't do that because everything's a theft. Everything is siphoned out. They save money here and they take it from there. And the bloody Tories, the Labour have just shown themselves to be no different than the Tories. So what I will say is, do not give these people the excuse to call you workshy. Show them that even though you're finding it difficult to get a job or find a job or find the right job even, you're still growing your mind and growing yourself. You're still exercising. You're still trying to eat right. You're still trying to learn about the world. That means I'm not useless. I used to get people saying that to me. There was a couple of years where I didn't do anything. And I was sitting and I was constantly reading. I just couldn't get enough of it. And I had family members accusing me, like saying, oh, you're just sitting doing nothing. I said, I'm maybe sitting down, but I can assure you, I'm not doing nothing. And these last couple of years prove that. I've certainly not been sitting doing nothing. Do something, get your mind into something, learn something new, and dispense with what other people bloody think about you as well, because that stops us. That stops us doing these things. It stopped me for years. Don't let it stop you. Do not be labelled a useless eater. Don't give them the excuse to label you a useless eater, because you're not that. You're worth so much more. The energy that harbours within us is pure magic. It is pure magic. You need to connect with it. And once you do, this world will change. Each and every person, if we can do that, I can promise you that this world will absolutely change. It'll change overnight. Because there's so many people, they sit back like, and I used to think like this as well, and people have said it to me, oh, that's quite a lot of information, I don't know if I could take all that on. Well, no, you probably couldn't, but you could try and take a wee bit of it on to begin with, and then try and take another wee bit on, and another wee bit, and the more that you do that, and the more you open your mind, the more your mind opens, thus you can take on more information. That's a fact. I'm here to tell you that is a fact. But you need to make a start. If you sit in the default position and say, well, no, I'm never going to get to that level. No, you're not going to get to that level overnight. But you need to make a start. You need to make a step, one step. Once you've made that one step, make the second, and just look at it like that's what I do. I just take everything a day at a time, one day at a time, one task at a time. I get up in the morning. The first task is to stretch, do my Spanish lessons and make my breakfast. They're the first 3 tasks. Concentrate on doing them one at a time. After that, I start getting into my stuff. I'll put an hour into reading or whatever. And then the next task comes, which is a work. Just work it like that, however you see fit. That's all you can do. You can only take it. And then if you do say, right, well, I went a 3-mile walk and I came back and I was quite tired, I'm going to chill for the rest of the night. Fine. Find a book to chill out with, or a documentary, or even a film that's going to bloody educate your mind. Start to educate your mind. Not even start to educate it, just to get it thinking. Once I see something that sort of interests me or blows my mind or whatever, that's thoughts with me for days and days and days. It just stays there. I know everyone's different, like, but it's kind of along those lines. You need to start thinking. Just think. Don't think like me or anyone else. Just think, and you'll become your own person. You'll become your own mind. And people will want to listen to hear you talk. There's no doubt about it, especially when you turn your life around. I mean, if you're in the worst position you're in, the more chance you have of turning it around, in my opinion, or the more chance you have of wowing people, because most people will have you written off. They'll be sitting there and saying, well, he's done, look, he's on benefits, he's overweight, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he's not happy, he doesn't look after his men. None of that stuff. You need to flip that around. Don't give them the excuse. Do not give them the excuse to bloody put you down or degrade you. And I used to get it as well. I used to these people sitting on panels with their big fancy jobs. And I used to think, well, it's all right for you. Love your job. And that's true. And that's one thing they have done right. They've found out what they like to do or what they love to do, and they've made a job out of it. And that's what we all need to do. And it's easier said than done. There's absolutely no two ways about that. I agree with you. But it can be done. And I mean, some days over the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling quite down as well. I had a hell of a back pain the other week there because of the stress and the worry of things. But you've just got to get through it. Don't use anxiety as a crutch to not live your life or to not learn anything, or to just say, well, no, I don't need to do this, I don't need to take that responsibility, and I don't need to hear that because I've got mental health problems and this anxiety. Everyone has mental health problems or anxiety at some time or another. Back in the medieval times, they didn't have any time to think about that. You didn't hear about depression. The Spartans' lifestyle was the same. All those ancient cultures just didn't have time to bloody think about it. I seen a thing, and it was from the 1940s, and it was somebody that lived in the 1940s, and it was in 2018 or whenever it was, and it was actually quite an eye opener. And I like back in the days before washing machines, and they used to have those glass things that they would rub the clothes on to get them clean. And that's probably why people were a lot happier back in those days, because they had to do everything manually. They had to move their hands, and it got the energy moving around the meridian system. And then once they'd done that, you had to cook the dinner, chop up the firewood, or get the coal in, or change the fire. That's even happened in my lifetime. My grandfather used to be a coal merchant, so I've seen all that in my lifetime. But back in the 40s, it was all they had to do. It was all they could do, really. And like I say, everything was more manually. So that's why they probably were a lot happier, because they were getting their exercise, they were getting everything, like the energy moving around their body. They weren't just getting up, putting the kids to school or whatever, making their breakfast and then sitting down on their phone, which is what far too many adults are doing these days. I've seen it. And I'm bad for screen time. Mine has to come down as well, but there's nothing wrong with screen time. It just depends on the content that you're looking at, and this all relates into that. So the moral of the story is, they were happier in the 1930s, 40s and 50s because they had to do everything more manually. So that means you have to get more manual in your life. Add a routine to it. Please just add something to it. Get your muscles contracting, even if it's just a 2-mile walk, to get the myokines out of your muscles, into your bloodstream, and to carry them to your brain so they can at least make you feel better. And that's what I do now. Ever since I learned that, any morning I'm not feeling up to a workout, what I'll do is I'll say, right, well, no, actually, this is the morning I do need it because I don't feel well. I don't feel good this morning, so I need to get these myokines out of my muscles and get them carried into my brain so that I feel better. And every single day that happened, I've thought like that. I feel better. It's at the end of it, and I can start getting on and recording videos or whatever. It's just whatever you want to do, and don't let anybody tell you it's shite or it's wrong or you shouldn't be doing it. Do what you want as long as you don't impose your bloody will on anyone else. That's it. That is the philosophy that we need to live our life by. If we do that, we'll be all good, and we will get there. I'd like to thank you. It's actually lasted a lot longer than I thought it would, this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next two. I'm going to get them posted as quickly as possible, and I will get the live done this week. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a weekend one, which I've never done before, so I think I would like to try that. Thanks once again for all your support, and I'll see you on the next one.